And we are so happy to be joined today by Pei-Chun. What an amazing piece that is. There's so much to talk about.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Martha.
Okay, you have to tell us all about that. I know you've been working on this for a while, but there is a lot going on. Let's start with the music.
So this is a piece called Moonlight Beach, Chaconne by Joe Waters. He's a SDSU composition professor. So we have been working on this for about since last fall. So actually, long story short, my husband, Abe, is the one who discovered this piece. So Abe is a cellist as well as a bow maker. So sometimes when he works late at night, he likes to listen to new music. He likes to discover different music to listen to. So one night he stumbled upon Joe's music, and he came home with Moonlight Beach Chaconne. He said, "Hey, this is a really great piece of music. It's got a big violin solo. It sounds really cool. You should listen to it." So I did, and I loved it right away. So I kept it in my mind. And so last fall, actually, when I was trying to put together a recital of all chaconnes. So at that recital last fall, I performed Bach chaconne, Vitali chaconne, and then I was thinking, oh, this piece would be great for this program. So that was the first time I performed this piece. And then I performed again with the SDSU Chamber Orchestra later on. And then it's just a really fun piece of music to play. It's interesting. What I played today for you guys is only an excerpt of it. It's only the last 4 minutes. So there's a lot more in the rest of the piece. There's me, and the piece is written for violin, voice, marimba, saxophone, and laptop electronic music. So there's a big part in the middle of the piece, the cadenza, where it only features the violin and the laptop. So it's really fun. And then anyway, so after I performed it, we recorded this piece. Joe said, let's record this. I said, okay. So we recorded this piece in his studio last December. And then during the pandemic, Joe said, hey, I want to make music video of this piece. So I said, okay. He said, have you heard of green screen video? No, don't know what it is. So I started learning a lot about green screen. And so that's kind of what I've been doing during the past few months. Going to his garage. He has his green screen all set up, and I play. I acted a little bit. There's a lot more of me acting, sleeping, swimming, and for the rest of the video. Yeah, it's been a really great experience. It's been a lot of fun.
So are the visuals then his concept of what goes with the music?
Yeah, it's he wrote the music many years ago, and then he decided to put the video together with the music more recently. And so it's basically a dream. This whole piece is a dream, and I'm playing at the beach, and there's a lot going on in a dream as well. So
that's fantastic.
And
really.
and so he did all this. Joe did all the video part. He has been working for hours and hours in the studio putting this together, and we're almost done with it. We're not quite done yet. We're at the final stage of finalizing the video, so it should be out pretty soon. So look out for the release day. It will be on social media, and you'll be able to see it on YouTube. So
great. Let us know, and we'll make sure to send it to everybody who's here today.
Yeah.
Great.
It's really fun. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting, this time period, which is when you can't be together as an ensemble, but the creativity and the innovation that is coming from this time, which, you know, we have the time to do it. We have the time to explore.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly why Joe decided that I'm going to make music videos of all my music. And so he's doing a lot of that. And because of him, I'm learning to do this as well. During our normal life, we would never have time to do this. We'll be busy playing concerts and running to rehearsals. And this, I have a lot of time to think about what I want to do on it. So there it is. It's a whole new project that I would not have time to create. So, yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You have an amazing history and an amazing training before you even ever came to San Diego, including bachelor's and master's from Juilliard,
Mm-hmm.
and a DMA. We should call you doctor.
I mean, every time people call me Dr. Tsai, I feel like that's my dad. You know? So yeah.
But what I noted is that your dissertation was on violin in Richard Strauss' music.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Strauss being a great favorite of our music director, Raphael Payari. And yes, indeed, Strauss has one of the more famous violin solos in Heldenleben. But can you talk a little bit about your connection with Strauss, how you chose that, and
well,
a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've written that thesis. But so I learned the Strauss violin sonata when I was at school, obviously at Juilliard. It was the first time I started learning that piece with my late violin teacher, Joseph Fuchs, who used to be the concertmaster of the Cleveland Orchestra. And this was one of his favorite pieces. So we really spent a lot of time working on this piece. And we work on every note, every phrase, every fingerings and bowings. And so I just really loved performing this piece. And then of course, when I started to research for my thesis, I was just always really interested about learning, because I liked this piece so much. So I read a lot about Strauss and about his writing. And of course, Strauss is famous for all his tone poem, his violin writings and those tone poem orchestra pieces. So my thesis basically is about Strauss's violin writing from his early years and how he evolves as a composer on his writing for a violin. So earlier on, he was greatly influenced by the more classical music composer, classical period composer, Mozart, and so on. And then sonata is more of his middle period writing as a composer, and then he started writing for those violin solo, very, very difficult, brilliant solos for the tone poems. So I in my dissertation I wrote about the development of his violin writing in the first 30 years of his composition.
And does he write comfortably for the violin?
He got better at writing for the violin for tone poems. So the violin sonatas, it's very beautiful. Some of it is easier to play than others, but then you see later on when he's writing for Heldenleben and now that's it's much reasonable and approachable for violinist fingerings and bowing. So
it's a fascinating topic, and to actually explore the development of a composer from that point.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit because you were present at our new outdoor venue, Shell, just last Thursday. Thursday.
Thursday, yes.
When members of the orchestra came and performed individual works that you had previously recorded at Copley Symphony Hall. And played those on the stage of the Shell, which was your first time there. It's very near completion, and maybe I can just set it up. We have a kind of unique sound system on the stage of the Shell, designed by Myers, which is a very famous loudspeaker manufacturer, one of the top probably 3 out of Berkeley. And they designed a system called the Constellation System, which is a really interesting connection between microphones and then speakers for the orchestra to better hear themselves and to create this acoustic on the stage. We already have a very good acoustic from the shell itself, but through this system, it is intended to really help the musicians hear back to front and side to side and have this acoustic. So describe that experience. How did you find it?
Well, so they had us play the same piece of music twice. We played Tchaikovsky's Serenade, and we play once without the system on, and then again with the system, without the system, and then with the system on. And I hear a huge difference right away. In my feedback, I wrote that I could hear the bass, the lower string from across the street a lot better, just right away, instantly. And then when you can hear the lower string, as a violinist, you can play much better because you have the support from them, and especially in the string ensemble. So that was really impressive, I think. I mean, I wonder what it sounds like out there actually, but as a performer on the stage, I really feel the big difference, because when I played so many years on that by the water in the summertime, and sound was always our biggest challenge, to be able to hear each other, and that was always very challenging. So the build of the shell and the sound system, I think it's really, really wonderful. Thank you. So really, really great. I'm really looking forward to it.
I can't tell you how happy that makes me.
Yeah, I think once we can start to use the shell more and more, I think a lot of orchestras are gonna be very jealous of us, especially during the pandemic. We get to put up all these outdoor concerts, and it's a beautiful one. It's comfortable. They're building all kinds of parks around it, entertaining area. So it's gonna be really great.
I think so too. We look forward to the vaccine, and then following that, the ability to have audience out there. But in the meantime, of course, you are a smaller number of musicians than will be on the stage eventually, and very distanced. The string players wear masks, of course, and are 6 feet apart, which makes it hard. You're used to sitting right next to a stand partner and listening to each other and in the midst of a section. So
yeah, so I actually wonder what it actually would feel like when we're even close to each other, like when we normally do. I wonder what it would sound, how we would feel on the stage. Probably better. I'm imagining probably only better.
I think so. I think it'll only get better. I think when there are 70 musicians on that stage, it will be tuned in a slightly different way, obviously, but 70 musicians and a chorus and soloist, great. It's really going to facilitate that listening. And then, of course, there will be a loudspeaker system in the venue, a surround system in the venue itself for the audience. We can hear a difference in your sound when I was outside listening, but there will still be amplification of this kind of created sound. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So this solo recital you gave, was it a virtual performance of your Chaconnes?
I'm sorry?
You said you were working on a Chaconne recital this fall. Was that virtual?
That was last fall.
Oh, a year ago.
I did last fall. Every year I try to do a recital for just to keep my playing going, also for my students as well. I usually try to do something at SDSU or for the students there or at the venue there. So last year I just decided I really wanted to do a recital that has Chaconnes, all the Chaconnes in it. And so I play the Bach Chaconne, the Victali Chaconne. Those are two pieces for violin solos. They're very widely played. And then the Moonlight Chaconne as well. So I teach at SDSU. That's besides playing the symphony, that I also teach. I'm also the violin instructor there since 2013 or 2011. And I also run a festival there every year. It's called the Campanile Music Festival. Every year I bring musicians from across the country to come and spend 4 to 5 days on campus with the students. They work closely with the students. So we have brought in university professors, orchestra players and soloists, and they will come in and give multiple master classes, or they would actually play in chamber groups with the students and coach them and play with them, perform with them. Students are always really excited about that. It's what an opportunity, you know. And like last spring, we brought in Brooklyn Rider, the New York City-based string quartet. They came in for a week and spent a week with our students. And they actually spent 2 hours with with Jill, our students, actually, our composition students. They read and recorded their works in the recording studio. So that was really, really special for them. It's definitely something I have been doing for the students at SDSU that I'm really proud of. And
how long have you been doing that?
Since 2016. Yeah, we have, and I try to do it every semester. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but at least once a year, usually in the spring, if not once in the spring, once in the fall. And the guest artists would usually perform a concert on Friday evening at the Scripps College at SCSU. And then on Saturdays, they would always do an outreach for the youth symphony or the community school. So they would go and play for the younger students or give them coachings. So it's a full week with all kinds of activities. Yeah.
What a great project. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
how many students do you have there generally?
Every year is different, but it varies from 5 to 8 every year. And this year I have 5. So.
And were you in person for a period of that time? Did you teach in person, or did you have to teach virtually?
Well, starting March, I've had to teach virtually. I have been teaching virtually. They have opened the campus to let us studio teacher to go and teach one-on-one, but all my students, all their classes are at home. So there's really no reason for them to come to school for just 1 hour for violin. So we have all been doing virtual lessons. And it actually works okay. It's not.
I was gonna say, are there pluses and minuses in that? Are there pluses?
Yeah, you know, it's not great. The sound delay and the quality is not great. So I try to work on other stuff. I try to really work hard with them on their other stuff, the rhythm, intonation, and sound phrasing. There's still a lot of other stuff that you can work on. So it gets the job done. It gets the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually a couple of the students actually, somehow they are focusing better when they're just at home. I find, because my private students too, because they have more time maybe. I guess it's not really by choice, but everybody has more time. So they're just have more time to practice and focus. They're in their room. They're not rushing to places. They're just more focused and have more time to practice. So they're actually, I have to say, all my students are making really good progress. So that's good.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some questions for you. What kind of violin do you play? What kind of bow? How old are they? Have you ever played electric violin?
I have not played electric violin yet, but
that was easy.
My violin is a modern Italian violin. It's by Alfred Contino, made in 1915. And I have had this violin since I was 12.
Wow.
It was my first full-size violin. My parents bought it for me. I have I have used different violins over the years. It's usually loaned to me by either schools or foundations for different reasons, for concerts or competitions. But I've always come back to this violin. You know, the thing with Italian violins is the longer you play it, the better it sounds. So the sound of my violin just gets better and better and better. So I like it more and more, and I have no complaints. So I'm still playing on it.
So tell us the story of how you chose it. Where did you?
I didn't choose it. My parents just bought it for. She bought it for me from my teacher at the time in Taiwan, and I've just always used it. Yeah, and I've just gotten so used to play on it. So.
And what about the bow?
It's by a French bow maker, Prosper Cola. It's probably from the 1920s. I bought it a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago at a shop in LA, and I feel like buying a bow is probably harder than a violin. Because it's really the bow that has to do a lot of things to make the sound, to do the spiccato, to do all kinds of different articulations. So the bow, luckily I had the violin that I knew that I wanted already, so I just had to pick the bow to go with it. And I chose. It took me a long time with bows. I play on so many different bows, and finally decided on this one. I like it. I like it.
It's the right weight. It's the right
way. It's not too light. It's not too heavy, not too light. It works well for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of bows, you mentioned already that your husband is a bow maker.
He is a bow maker. I'm still waiting for I made a commission years ago, but you know, his bows keep on getting sold. So I'm still waiting. He says the one that he's making now is for me. He always says, "Oh, your bow that I'm making now," but we'll see. We'll see. He's a bow maker. He has a shop on Adams Avenue, and it's a very impressive craftsmanship that he picked up later on. He's a professional cellist as well. We play a lot of chamber music together, and he still teaches quite a bit. But now he just spends most of his time making bows. And yeah.
That must be an incredible craft. The hard part, I mean, choosing the wood or refining the wood or all of the above.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about it too. It's incredible. He makes every part of the bow, from the shape and the buttons and the shape the frog, and put inlay, the pearl, and everything, every bit of it. It's handmade. So he has a lot of machines and tools and this and that. That requires a lot of time, hours and hours.
Where does he source his materials from? Where does he get the hair? Where does he get the wood? From all over?
From all over, yeah, from all over the place. He has, over the years, he has just different supplier. From the wood is Pernambuco, and so it's not very, it's really hard to get them. So whenever whenever it comes across, when he can buy it, he usually buys them. And it's a lot, even though it's just a bow. It looks very simple, but it's actually a lot of small details that puts together.
And is it bows for violins and cellos and or is it and basses?
Yeah, yeah. He just recently made a bass bow, his first bass bow. It's a lot, it's bigger, and it's many more hours in order to make a bass bow. But he does make a violin, viola, cello, and bass bow. He makes all of them. Yeah. So.
Okay. Our project, this is from Joe Waters, who's listening.
Hey, Joe.
Our project blurs the lines about traditional classical music performance. How do you feel about swimming and walking in your sleep along with playing the violin? Is it too risky?
What was the last thing he said?
Is it too risky?
Is it too risky? Well, me and Joe have a lot of discussion about this, sleeping and walking and all that. I I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question, Joe. I really don't know. I mean, he was there when I did all that. It's I mean, at one point Joe had me doing swimming and tried to pretend to play the violin at the same time when I was balancing in a chair. So for the green screen, and is it risky? Yes, it is risky. But I think it's a lot of fun, actually. And in shorts, I think it's just really fun. It's a different experience that I would have never done. I would never even try. Yeah.
Well, Joe, thank you for the question. And I think you've done a great job. It's a beautiful video. We look forward to the completion.
Mhm.
A comment. Bravissimo, Pei-Chun. What a beautiful piece. And the video too from
Mhm.
Rosemary, I think it's Ruggieri. Yep.
Mhm.
And then,
Thank you.
are there any neglected violin concertos you would like to resurrect? Is your last question.
Well, there are a lot of concertos for the younger people. Actually, the other day in the car on the radio, I just heard a violin concerto by Kreutzer, and Kreutzer is the we know as violinists, we know him as someone who wrote a lot of etudes. He wrote etude books for violinists, and I'd heard this concerto. I'm like, wow, what is this? That's really, really cool. It's really beautiful. And so actually I didn't really think about it too much, but now that this question is asked, I'm thinking actually for a while, years ago, I was really researching a lot of the student concertos, like all the Sides concertos, the Barrio concerto, the Kreutzer concertos. Those are supposedly students concertos, but they're actually quite hard and not very played very much. So if I really can, maybe someday I will pick up those concertos. I'll play a recital of all the Sides concertos or all the Kreutzer concertos or Barrio concertos. So yeah.
Okay, now you have a new new
I have a new
path.
project. I have a new project after Moonlight Beach, Chaconne. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a new project to do. That's yeah, it's interesting.
It's been great to spend this time with you. I am delighted about Lunch and Listen because it just highlights the depth and the incredible artistry of our musicians. And you've certainly represented that beautifully today. And it's a pleasure to have the time. As you said, we have time. So it's nice to take this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha.
And we can't wait till you're all back. Tell me about your piece. Do you have a closing piece today?
Yes, it's a Sarabande from the Bach Partita number 2, D minor.
Great. Look forward to it. And thank you again.
Thank you.